minute of us.
Okay, yeah. So let's go on
They
here.
better be grateful.
Hang on a second. We should have
That
Google
minute is
Desktop. There
worth
we
at
go.
least 2 cents.
Yep. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm here.
Hello.
I'm here with Alyssa and Kveer. We're having a lot of fun. We've been setting things up for the better part of an hour. So yep. Oh, good. Yep, that's good that you can hear us.
And by
So,
setting things up, she means bullshitting.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked about mints and God knows what here. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and mints as in the candy. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, what am I drinking tonight, Alyssa? Kale Illa 12 or Lagavulin 16?
Ooh.
Oh, that sounds like a very tough choice.
That's a top choice right there. I mean, do the 12. Do the 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. And tonight I'm working on my 598, the 2022 edition map. I'm going through the list of changes that I did to the 576 map, and then I'm implementing the same ones on the 598 map. And
what
then
do the
we'll
numbers mean?
The numbers is the year the map depicts in the setting. So I have two versions of the map. The 576 is the classic Greyhawk that from the original box. And the 598 is the after from the ashes and the living Greyhawk or the Greyhawk war and stuff.
So what I get from this is that you're not only crazy, you're batshit crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because you're not only creating an entire world, you're creating an entire world over multiple timestamps.
Two timestamps. So yeah, because those in the Greyhawk community, those are the two major ones. Some people want to go back to the good old classic Greyhawk that was the original box, so to speak, the folio and the box set that came out '83. The other ones they use from the Ashes or the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. And that I said it after when all that was implemented in 598. So those were the two maps that versions that I actually did the 598 map first. And then a lot of people came to me, oh, but I want to have it like 576 Classic Greyhawk. So then I did that one afterwards. So, yep.
That's like, I made a map of Azeroth back, I don't know when, 2017. And people still, more updates to World of Warcraft have come out since. And with every update, they add another, oh, look, there's an island that just popped out of the ocean.
They changed
right?
Yeah, this is much geography.
And people come and look at my map and they go, oh, you're going to update it and add the thing in?
Of course.
No.
You serve a community. That means that it's a forever job, so to speak. Yeah.
Like, pay me and maybe I'll update it.
Start a Patreon. That's what the Greyhawk community does. They pay me to keep doing this. So it's awesome.
Have told people, if you keep staring at the print, it's downloading right now. It's updating. Just keep looking.
Yep. Yeah, Samuel, you got it right. That's the major change. Yeah. Poor Almor got wiped out. Yeah.
So it's like Shadowrun, that each edition sort of advanced the timeline and
they thankfully when you take Forgotten Realms, they had spell plagues and a series of updates, but thankfully Greyhawk hasn't got that much attention from TSR and Wizard of the Coast lately, so they avoided most of the spell plagues and the major upheavals, because they're usually done from public reasons or published reasons in order to streamline products and come out with new versions and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool.
Okay, that was Blue Bay in Woolly Bay. So let's see here. I have my list. South Almond Isle. Okay. So
what's the building you're drawing now, Alyssa?
I don't know. A lot of the time, I don't know what the buildings are. Like, some I do, obviously. But sometimes I'll just draw what feels right for the space. And I want it to feel big. I want it to feel martial. I want it to feel important in the heart of town. But it's open what it actually is. I don't know what every single building is.
And here comes one of these issues when I have with Narisban. I got wonderful new heraldry for it, but the problem is that in 598 that was taken over by the Scarlet Brotherhood. So maybe I could put both heraldry next to each other or something. So we'll see. I update the places first.
Thought you were going to be talking about someone in the chat. Here comes trouble. It's like,
Yeah, Rick Diaola is the guy that made the he made the heraldry for me. So, or he sketched it out and designed it. Yep.
I actually had someone on my YouTube channel pop in the other day to one of my earlier released Wamptham maps, and it was the guy that actually drew the original map of Wamptham.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, he came in and he was like, "Hey, I don't mind you redrawing my stuff like at all." So I was like, "Hey, if there's something that you would love to see in here, you know, like something of yours, if it's just something new, let me know and I'll put your mark on this map." So it's kind of cool.
That is great. That's fantastic. Yep. Okay. Towns.
So this is Alyssa. This is a city from Greyhawk.
Yeah, I'm drawing Wamptham.
Oh, you okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wamptham.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hang on
As
a second. I'll show where it is. I'm just going to place this town here first. Up here. There we go. Hang on a second here. Let me just bring up my reference map. It's easier to scroll. So here we have, I'm going to zoom out here. So here we have the central, the Greyhawk, the kind of the epic part, so to speak, the more part. And we zoom in on Nyrond, and then we zoom in. Down here is Relmord, the capital of Nyrond, and up here is Wamptham. So it's in the northern end of the northern side of Nyrond, and it's a cool city up there. So yep, so that's where it is.
So there, I'm assuming there was some module based.
Not much at all. Wamptham is one of these mentioned, but not more than mentioned.
Which is why they managed to get me to do it. Okay, because if this had a lot of scenarios and stuff behind it, I wouldn't be drawing it right now.
Yep.
So wait, who you said the guy drew the original map of it? Why did he?
Yeah, Robert Lee. Anna, do you have the original map? You can.
Was he just a fan and he just decided to
do it? Hold on. No. It was drawn from a magazine.
Yeah, you have it more handy than I do. I have it somewhere, I think. Yep.
This is the original.
Yep, there you go.
Do you see that? Kind of teeny tiny for you.
Oh wait, yes, now I do.
Yeah, it's teeny tiny. I mean, Wamptham in this era is meant to be what, like 19,200 people.
Yep.
So this doesn't feel like 19,200 people to me, right?
That's
so
a
it's
few
a little
hundred.
small. I'm not a huge fan of some of the wall design. I think it's fine. I think it's functional. And general buildings, that type of thing. I think it's fine for the job that it needed to serve at the time. But if I'm gonna do this, I've got to do it Faden style. I've got to kick this up a notch. So I'm actually hoping that I'm taking this as kind of like almost old Wamptham, and what I've done is I've kind of brought it into this area right here, and so I've got some of the same buildings. It's not really the same shape, but it's old Wamptham. So that's my doff of the cap to him, you know?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, I like your approach. Really cool.
There was another, but it was a fan-made map. There was a fan-made map of Wamptham, which is different again, but kind of cool. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Maybe I bloody can't. Oh, yeah, here we go. So this one was a fan-made version right here.
Hang on a second. I've
got a, there we go. So this probably feels a little bit more like 20,000 people or 20,000 people, but obviously there's no buildings on this one. But I am taking the main points of interest of this. So I've got the same tavern names. I've got the same sprawl to the south. I actually took I like the whole moat thing that he's got going on around it, so I took that as well. So my city will end up like doffing the cap to both of them.
Cool.
If I actually zoom out on mine.
Now, why want them? Like,
because
what's special about it?
Greyhawk Online said, "What about one of them?" As the first one.
Okay, why did they do that? Why did they choose that city?
Because they don't want to scare me off.
I think
What's special about it for that
the
people
special
would
is
want
that it's still interesting and big enough to be a real cool target for mapping, but it's doesn't have that much backstory, so it gives you a lot of freedom to design it, so to speak. Yeah, it's much harder. I'm going to try and tackle City of Greyhawk that has tons of backstory, meaning there are hundreds, if not even 1,000 pages of stuff that affects it. There's like novels, there's box set, there's 25, 30, 50 maps, 10 published ones, and a whole bunch of others. It's meaning it's a city that has been portrayed over and over and over again for 4 decades. And I'm going to try and make my version and take it all into account, which is a 10 times bigger project than both of them in that sense.
Oh, at least 10 times, Anna.
Yeah.
At least 10 times. I mean, the city alone is going to be 10 times the amount of drawing.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Right. And then with all of the background lore and
Mhm.
everything that you have to have in place.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the good thing is I will have great help with that, because I can nail down each block of the city and then ask people, and they will provide all the stuff, and they will read and detail it for me. Jason Zavoda did a wonderful annotated reading of the Gord books that are set in the city of Greyhawk, and with a lot of notes and stuff. So I'm going to unfortunately, he passed away before he had chance to write it all down. So I have to listen to these things and take notes. So that is something I'm going to do next year, I think. Listen through all of that reading and take all that notes from there, and then read the Gord books again, read the Greyhawk box set, and take notes and make sketches. I've already started it. I started it like 10 years ago to make some sketches, so I will go back and look at that again and then work from there. But it's a 5-year project.
Jeez.
Yeah, that is an intimidating project.
It's a project as big as the Greyhawk map, almost, in scope. But now I have 20 years of experience, so it will go faster. That sense.
I keep telling yourself that. all you're gonna do with that 10 years of experience or 20 years of experience is just make it even more detailed, so it'll take just as long.
Yeah. But I have better tools, though.
It's like having 4-wheel drive. All it does is get you stuck out farther away from help.
Exactly, further away out in the That's very true. Yeah.
I've got a map, a first stage, Middle Earth map coming up, and it is a good thing to have help. I've got my landlord and good friend and most repeat customer, Jim. And he's a Tolkien scholar. He's got a huge collection of everything Tolkien. So he commissioned me to, my map of Middle Earth and my map of Numenor are both commissions from him. And Numenor was really difficult because there's barely anything written about Numenor. So there's like 6.5 pages. That's it in an appendix that Tolkien wrote. And most of it is about their economy, not the landscape. So. Yeah. But first stage, he's like, that's not a problem. That's documented a lot. So there are maps that Tolkien drew. So I'm like, okay, Jim, you know what to do. Send me. And he's my favorite customer because he will send me basically a PowerPoint presentation.
That's great.
With a list of all the important locations and various references of the map, if there are different versions of it, drawn by Tolkien and whatever, and he will send me, he will look up any artist renditions, whether they're official art over the years or fan art of different places that need to be depicted, so I know what they look like. So I don't
I
need to.
love clients like that. And
Yeah.
they're not giving you a book of words to read and interpret. Here's a whole bunch of examples that you need to be paying attention. I love that.
Yeah, I was approached by an author that should be unnamed, and said, "Can you map my fantasy world?" And I said, "Sure, we can look at it and start discussing it." And I said, "Oh, you have to write it down, all the details and stuff." No, I can just send you my books. That's like
Yeah.
1,800 pages
Yeah.
of or something like that.
If they're paying you by the hour to
I
read
was just
them,
going to say, I need $20,000 just to sit and read them for 6 months or 8 months taking notes. And so that's something that it's kind of a learning experience for people who want to commission to get the more projects for me have been kind of gone into the bin because of lack of that information, so to speak. Someone has not been able to put all the stuff into the art order, so to speak, or the map order. That is the trickier bit than the actual payment, so to speak, because that takes so long and it's so much work for someone else. And also they should know because it's their setting, meaning he had invented
it's their
it.
baby.
Exactly, it's their baby. So for me to figure all that out would be 10 times more difficult than for him.
I think a lot of authors looking at fantasy authors. I think a lot of authors don't care about the map, right?
But the writers are not visual.
They don't care about the map any further than it representing what happens in the story.
Yeah.
They don't unless they come from a background of being a DM in an RPG and then they overdo it and put in a whole bunch of shit that isn't even in the story.
Yeah. But writers, you can invent a lake or you can invent a forest. They just change some edit. But if the map, when you do that's hours of work. But in the text, you can just switch out a little line of text, and all of a sudden you invented a forest or a river or a lake or whatever feature you want. And it's hard to tell writers that you can't just change the detail like that on an editorial basis once the map is done, so to speak. It's hard. Yep.
I had a map commissioned as a gift for a writer, and it was a very simple map, and there was a large section of it that was just blank. Right, there was a big area that was just blank. It was a regional map, so we're not talking continent or anything. And there was a large section, I would say probably a quarter of it in surface area that was just blank. So I emailed them and I said, hey, so this is an opportunity for you to update the map, right? You have this big blank area.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do something with it? And they said, oh, no, that there's nothing in the story about that. You can make up whatever you want.
Uh-oh.
Like, when you tell me to make up whatever I want, I'm just going to do nothing. Because I'm not making shit up in your world. First
then you can be blamed for things missing or something.
I'm not going to, once I put it on the map, it's canon, right? It's there. I'm not going to make something up in a world that you already published like 4 novels in. Like, I'm not doing that. Plus, it's more work for me. If you're going to pay me the same amount of money to not do it, sure. Sign me up.
You know me, because I love my Easter eggs and shit. If I get a client saying, "Oh, just you add something," I will. I will go there because I'm like, you said I could, and actually, I've done that on the Necropolis map for Forgot Games. There's stuff on that Necropolis map. They don't know it's there. To this day, they don't know it's there. And they're going to print that on like a 12 by 12 sheet.
Dicks everywhere.
And it's going to be a Gamehole con. And I swear I'm going to be able to point it out and go, that's a CRTV monitor that I drew in that corner over there. And they're going to go, oh, shit. Then don't hire me to draw anything, because I'm gonna.
Yeah, don't give me an open check, a blank check.
Luke Gygax has actually asked me to draw. He's doing his map of Shentuvi, and I'm doing the regional and the city map for it. And he said, and add some POIs. So, and unlike you, I will go, okay, I'm doing it. Because I'll add obelisks or faces carved into cliffs and that type of shit.
Yeah, I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was going to say I have one advantage because when I work with terrain creation tools, they fill in a lot of the blanks by themselves, so I don't have to work on it. Meaning, it's easy to just create terrain, so to speak. It's if I have the general idea, should it be mountain, should it be the character of the land, then I could just do another 500 square miles. That's easy. So yeah, it's when.
Well, here's a question for you, Anna. So here's a question for you, because you and I do work in different scales, and as a different approach, we kind of come in from two different ends. Do you ever look at one of your maps that with all of your input, the computer has generated this terrain? Do you ever look at it and start to go, oh, that looks like an interesting area?
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. And the problem is that I fall in love with it on an early stage, and I was like, oh, that little cool valley there is it. Someone lives there, and that's a perfect spot for a dragon lair, whatever. But the problem is, if it doesn't match the original what the map should be, like the coastline is in the wrong spot, or the river doesn't follow the line on the guide map, so to speak, the map I'm working from. Or the target, that means that if I move the river, that wonderful little valley or kind of cool hill disappears, and it's gone forever. And that's why I save all the old files, and it's kind of, sometimes I even cut out that height map of that area and then paste it back in manually or kind of gut it back in because I liked it so much. So I fall in love with this little countryside I'm working on all the time. So I'm getting very sentimental about things that are just computer algorithm popping up on my screen.
Kafir, what about you? Because your medium is extremely different as well.
Right.
Does your medium ever influence your work?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, do you have like I would say air problems, something on the skin, like are there dots or imperfections or old wounds on the goat or something like that? That I mean, creates something.
I usually don't make up my own maps, right? So I don't.
Yeah, you work like me often from some map originally.
Yeah, there's already existing reference material for it, so I don't.
For me too.
I don't add random stuff in there, but.
And you don't change the scale. I usually do more detailed, so I have to add stuff,
now I won't
but it still needs like to reference it.
Yeah, but it does. Like, I'll take a look at a skin and I'll be like, what's the best way to use this skin with its particular properties, and how soft it is, or stiff, or does it have scars or things like that. So they do add. I can't remember a situation where some blemish or some particular characteristic of a skin added a feature into a map that wasn't there before.
Yep.
What about, have you ever looked at a skin and thought, this is going to be good for this map?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely happened. Like in different colors that just fits what I want it to be, or a shape.
Yeah, that's cool. We just have to say welcome to Boyd Jones. Welcome and for first comments. And will there ever be a virtual reality Greyhawk worlds we can visit? That's one of my hopes to have that. That's one of the reasons I want to do. I'm doing real height maps in my latest and upcoming Greyhawk projects have real height maps in them, and they will have virtual trees and buildings and stuff like that in the future. That is so virtual reality is definitely on my radar, and it just happens to be I have a virtual a VR headset here because I'm a flight sim buff. So VR headsets are part of my outfit here. So I'm very much into VR. So I'm a consumer of VR. I use it for my flight sims. That's basically what I use it for. But I love VR, so it's cool. So it's definitely. But it's more than 5 years out. But it's on my radar, so to speak, literally.
How come you haven't built a Greyhawk in like Minecraft or something?
I've looked into it. Yep, I've looked into it because there is but my problem with Minecraft is that the resolution of the pixels, so to speak, the voxels is too big. If the
Right.
voxels were 1/10 the size, it will be gorgeous. I would have embraced it wholeheartedly, and I would be a Minecraft Greyhawk kind of person.
Yeah, it's the
Definitely.
style of it that
Exactly.
yeah.
It's too harsh. It's like the building blocks are too big. If you just made the building blocks, had a few more materials, and made them 1/10 the size, it will be fantastic. I was almost like wanting to invent a higher resolution Minecraft myself just to be able to do it, but I'm not a programmer enough to do that. So yeah.
Well, Anna, you know that I've been playing around with Unity, and
Mhm.
I've got a
Yep.
I've
So
got a
can you
landscape
do
for
a
me.
Minecraft with? Can we do a Minecraft with smaller building
We
blocks?
could do voxels, but I'm not sure there's a benefit to doing it because voxels have a terrible performance on them when they
That's
get large because they're
exactly.
tracking every single block.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we need to do that,
Yeah,
but
but
I have got my program
Mhm.
will take a height map
Yeah.
and
And
render it.
there is a really cool plug voxel plugin for Unreal 5 or 4 too. So for Unreal there is a voxel plugin that is really cool. And
Do
then
you need to be voxels though?
and no, you don't. But there is a huge benefit with voxels is that you get a world that is shapeable. You can dig a hole. You can reshape it. So the end user can go in and dig a dragon lair or build a little hill or
Yeah, but you could
level
do
it.
that with meshes. You could do that with meshes. It
Yeah,
just
but
takes a different type of
voxels
programming.
give you even cooler stuff, so to speak. You can interact with it, but and also the performance issue used to be horrible with voxels, but today's graphics cards can handle voxels way better than it used to be. So it's getting there, but I agree. It's there is a kind of a you have
Don't
to
get me
pay.
wrong. I love voxels. I've
Mhm.
played so many voxel games. I freaking love them.
Yeah.
You know, a huge amount.
Yeah, so it's definitely a technology to keep in mind, but I agree it's not good enough yet, so to speak. So yeah, but I think from end user tweakability, voxels are fantastic. There was an Australian company that actually make instead of voxels, they almost make like virtual atoms, so you can make stuff from building blocks that are like cell sized. And you can make different materials and you can build and you fractally can build plants and stuff like that. It was amazing. I saw a tech demo, but they were 10 years too early because the computers were not powerful enough. So I think they folded, unfortunately, or maybe they're working in the military secret world of things. I don't know. But that is so. What they showed was like voxels on steroids, and I was like, yes. So there are technology coming, and when you have graphics cards that have 10,000 cores, soon you will have graphics cards that have a million cores that can process a trillion voxels at a time, so to speak. And so it's coming. The technology is it's catching up.
But you won't be able to buy any of those graphics cards. They'll be out there,
Oh, I have a graphics
but
card.
only the scalpers will have them.
Well, no, but scalpers are selling them, so right soon you can get them for peanuts. So yeah.
No, but I hear your point, Cafe. It's like I want the next generation to come out.
Yeah.
So they just move on and start
Yeah.
casting off all the
Mhm.
3080s and the
Yep.
3080 Ti's and the 3090s.
Yeah, I have a 3080 Ti in my computer, so yeah.
I don't. I'm still on a 2080 because I'm not going to chase it and I'm not going to spend that type of money.
No,
Not
I
right
just needed it because my flight sim demanded it, and then I had a
Ah.
Gaia version that
Yeah.
started using graphics cards too. So I was like, okay, now I have two reasons for it. So, but I got it for $2,000 like a year ago, and that was.
Can you remember the day when even $500 was a lot for a graphics card,
Mhm.
and now it's 2,000? It's
But
like
it will be
get out of here.
$4,000 soon. So yeah, it's getting back in the right direction. Now I need to be productive here and read on my list again. I have the list of changes here, so that's why I'm popping from area to area. So I'm
You can't invite Kafir and I onto your channel and then be productive.
Right.
That's true. Yep, but it's wonderful to have you guys here. So now I'm going to go out to an area that I have created. I've created 2 little additions to Greyhawk that wasn't there. So now I'm and that's one of the reasons I need a new computer. This one hangs for seconds at a time. So this is a set of islands that are beyond from the Thilonrian Peninsula out in the ocean here, and I call them the Boval Islands. And they will be part of my kind of world building history and stuff. So I wanted a couple of playgrounds where I can do my own stuff, so to speak. So that's why hello, Michael and Marco.
Are there going to be dinosaurs on those
No,
islands?
no dinosaurs. No, some dragons maybe, but not dinosaurs. Yeah, non-fire breathing dragons. Yeah, that don't fly. So as long as you describe them in fantasy terms and not call them dinosaurs, I could be good. Yeah. You can call them sand lizards or something. Yeah.
I did a couple of dragon-shaped islands.
Yeah.
Digitally, I never did one in actual buckskin, but I did a couple of them.
I need to zoom in here. Yeah. Let's see here.
I'm gonna mute myself so I don't make weird paper ripping noises.
And I have to make sure I click on the right window, so when I type, it doesn't end up in chat or something. It actually ends up on my map. That is in the right on the right layer. Now I just need to click here again and put it in. Come on. This is why I need a new computer, because when I click, it takes 5 to 10 seconds before some. Oh, there. Now we get it.
There's some Photoshop projects that I've worked on that do the same thing, Anna. So I get you. That big pause, especially if it's 5-10 seconds or more.
Yeah,
you just can't work like that.
Yeah, but it's Illustrator, and the map is too big to be in Illustrator. My computer's not up to it, so that's one of the major reasons that I'm moving away from Illustrator and to GIS, because then I can work on little pieces at a time, and it's all stored georeferenced, so that will speed up the process. So this is the last update that we'll do in Illustrator with this. So need to give it the right size here. Hello, Phantom Jen.
Too bad.
Hey,
Jen.
It's Jen.
I think I need to drop the saturation on this map for the prints, but
okay, yeah.
The first test isn't too bad. I remember Alyssa working on Teagle Manor. It was Photoshop, just sitting there thinking about things for a while.
Now I need to figure out what's...
That was the one where I dropped on all of the labels, and Photoshop and labels do not get along. And I thought I lost the whole freaking thing. I thought I bust my computer because I just dropped all of the labels on it, and it was a
yeah. When every label is a different layer, it's just
it was horrible. I've started using InDesign now for labeling.
Yeah.
Particularly if there are a lot of labels.
Yeah, I think that will work. Hang on a second. Yeah. Okay, and now I can... now we move to the next little area here, and this is the Estold Islands, and it's another little island group that I've added out in the... This was my very first Patreon project, to create these islands, and now I actually moved them into the Greyhawk map here, so they're out here in the Solnor, a group of islands. So I'm going to detail them. I'm actually going to redo the maps partially because they are good enough to be here, but now I can do even better than I could 4 years ago when I did them in, I think, 2018 as my very first No, it was my second Patreon project, not the first one, the second.
Always hit save and know which layer you're on. That's yep. Are we all working on maps? Or is I am working on prints right now.
Yeah, the layers, I have like
Prints of
100
maps.
layers on this one, so yeah. There we go. And I need to figure out, set that one to auto. No, that didn't actually. There we go.
I think I got too bloody detailed with this thing. I'm going to need to throttle this back moving forward.
Okay, yeah.
Now, when you say too detailed, what do you mean?
Well, a lot of my previous maps, you know, I would draw buildings like really crude, literally like this, and like colored. They look fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But now I'm getting way in, and I've got roof details. I've got shingles. I've got little tiny windows. I've got little tiny bushes. It's. I mean, look at the amount.
But you
of
haven't
ink
done
in a
shingles on.
space.
But
So
you're not. You don't intend to do shingles on all of them, right?
No, but the fact that I've even got it on some, it is a big difference. I mean, I can bring up a map here shortly once I locate one that's considerably simpler. And yeah, I think it's one of actually Jay Scott's favorite maps. And it's one of my simplest. And I struggle to draw simple nowadays.
So when you have, it's like you set the limit at 100 roof tiles or 1,000 per building, not more than that or something.
Yeah, exactly, right?
You scale them up a little bit, so yeah.
So just don't do shingles. Stop.
Hey,
next,
this is not the one, but this type of map that I just brought up, this is simpler.
Hang on a second. I'm going to switch to your desktop so we can see. Yeah.
I mean, this is an older one, but this is simpler.
I love that you put clouds on them a little bit.
I keep doing that.
See, I can't.
Well, in fact, I mean, that's simpler. That's way simpler.
I'll be honest. I can't tell that it's simpler because the color and everything is just not, you know.
Right. So, but if you look at it, it's the ink work.
Yeah.
There's no doorways.
You just have a basic textured outline of each building.
That's I mean, the texture is all during the coloring phase.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take that away, you're actually into something more like, you know, come on.
Yeah.
Well, actually, not that. Why are you doing this to me, Johnny? I've actually got a simpler version of this here. Come on. It does not want to move. I actually have the black and white version of that I'm struggling to actually get to right now. But yeah, I mean, if you actually, this is actually way more detailed on the actual density of the buildings. But again, there's no steps leading up. Like a temple is denoted just by being a bigger shape.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
If you compare this to this, where my, I've got little parks, I've got little walkways, I've got little, awnings. Look at the temple. The temples themselves,
and that's before even coloring it, because color you would add more detail in the color part too. So yeah.
Exactly.
So have you ever created sort of a scale for yourself and for customers of, levels of detail? Like here's the building with low level, medium level, high level, extra high level.
You have to start using the computer video game term LOD. What's your
Yeah,
LOD of this?
totally. You're totally right. Like when
Yeah.
I get hit up for commission, I always say, do you want it simple? Here's an example. Do you want it medium? Here's an example. Do you want it high? Here's an example. Or do you want it stupid?
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example.
That's stupid.
The problem is I can't draw simple and medium anymore. That's the problem. I wanted to do medium on this, and I actually really struggled to do it.
It's just not fun for you.
Yeah, not fun, but imagine replicating your early work on Buckskin.
Right. Yeah.
Forgetting everything you've learned, everything now that you like doing.
I know.
that you
I know
want
exactly
to do.
what you mean. I've had people, and I shouldn't say this live, but I've had people commission me, and in order to hit a smaller budget, they'll say they want, a medium level of three-dimensionality or detail,
Mm-hmm.
and I will still give them way more than they paid for because I make it, and I'm like, damn it, I can't. I just can't. I gotta make this
exactly.
better.
You stuck with it's same thing for me. Meaning I follow my kind of my normal workflow in a lot. To remove stuff from it or work in a different resolution, that will be then I have to redo symbols and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's kind of
Yeah.
It's
I get it.
Yep.
that.
Mm-hmm. And now people that watch this, I have a list of things. I had one called, now I'm changing a place called Man's Bridge. You realize, guys, I have to know where that is on the map. So when I read something, I have to, and sometimes I have to kind of remember where things are. And I try to remember where every location is, but there's like thousands of them now, so I can't really remember. So sometimes I have to look around for things. So, but sometimes I can, when someone say, "Oh, where's that little place?" then I can actually remember where it is.
I think the lower saturation is better. Yeah, I'll take it.
I'm going to.
And with that, I'm done working on prints for today.
Yeah.
I could do a lot more, but the printer needs to stay busy.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to keep it printing a
Oh
little
yeah.
every
Otherwise, you just
day
have
rather
to
than.
buy new stuff for it anyway. So yeah.
So I'm like, I have my next convention is Dragon Con, which is in exactly 2 months, and so I'm just gonna print a couple of prints every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, it's my last convention potentially ever, so I don't even want to create a huge inventory because I don't want to get stuck with a whole bunch.
Yeah.
So
The last ever. That sounds
yeah,
sad.
I only had this year. I was only doing 3. It's not sad. I'm actually happy about it.
Okay.
I'm ecstatic that this sense of relief.
Well, you've done it for how many years? Like 10, 20?
No, God, no. Conventions, no. 7 years.
Okay. Well,
Which 2 of those is COVID. So
yeah. Oh, but 7 years of conventions being your main work kind of thing,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
that's tough. Yeah. I've gone to like 6, 7 of them a year for 10
and I
years.
really don't like them. I despise them. Now, most of the conventions I was doing were Comic-Cons,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very different ball game from gaming conventions. Gaming
Yeah.
conventions, I've done Origins twice. I've done GaryCon 4 times. I would do like Origins. I quit because it just kind of sucked. No gaming conventions ever actually made me money. I usually kind of broke even or lost money. So Comic-Con is where the money was at, but I just hated doing them. Gaming conventions was more fun, and I will go to GaryCon just for fun. It's the only convention I will go to just to enjoy my time there.
Yeah.
So I decided I just want out. I don't want to do it anymore for many reasons.
But you will hopefully still do commissions at maps.
Yeah, so commissions I'll still do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll still sell prints on my website.
Yeah.
but I just don't want to do the cons anymore. So I decided this year I only had GaryCon, that I was signed up for from 2019.
Yeah.
And I had Dragon Con that I signed up for last year as well. And I had Gamehole that I did last year, and then I signed up again. But then I decided, you know what? I just don't feel like it anymore. I don't want to do it. It's a long drive and all of that. And it's a really fun convention, but I would rather, if I really wanted to go, I would rather just do it for fun.
Yeah.
If I had the money.
Yeah.
So I canceled Gamehole. I did GaryCon in March. Then I canceled Gamehole as a vendor, and I'm gonna do DragonCon. I decided not to sign up as a vendor for GaryCon next year. If I, for two reasons. One, I'm kind of really feeling like I'm done
Yeah.
with conventions as a vendor, but also since I'm looking for a new job, I can't commit to something early next year that might take me out of a new job for a week,
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's not gonna happen. And then I may not, DragonCon is gonna have to make me a lot of money because a booth at DragonCon costs about $3,000.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
from my booth, which is a corner, and the corners are bigger and all that. So for me to say at the end of DragonCon this year, to say, sure, have $3,000, because you got to pay that Sunday, at the end of the convention,
Yeah.
for next year.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
for me to say, sure, take $3,000 of my profits, it would have to be a lot of profits.
Yeah.
For me to do it.
Oh, we have a first time. Welcome, Justinius. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm sitting here with Alyssa Faden and Kveer Mendel and chatting and mapping and stuff. So yep.
Justinius, I feel like they need to get at least I don't know.
That's
sort of a, yeah, there you go. To see,
yeah.
Alyssa, some recognition for the Roman name.
Exactly, that's Roman enough for you, Alyssa. Yep. Mm-hmm.
On your, how did it was Justinius an emperor? Probably.
Yes, I think so.
Right.
Yep.
How do they rate on your list of top 10 Roman emperors?
Alyssa, well, where's Justinius on the league here, or the leaderboard? Yep.
I'm not sure I've ever formed a opinion or a hierarchy of emperors. I think I should probably do that at some juncture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Justinian was Byzantine.
Oh, really? So East Roman Empire. That's true. Yeah. Well, yeah,
it counts.
Okay. Yep. You're the expert, Alyssa, not me. So yep. Thank you, Justinius, for yep. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. Now I need to save again, because now I've hopped over to Hokoch, or in the Grand Duchy of Joff, and let's see what's next on my list.
The Grand Duchy of Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff or Joff, or how you pronounce it. Yep.
That was
the docks in Stoic.
The Grand Duchy of Bob.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is a good point. A lot of fantasy maps have all these weird names, and then you look at real life Earth maps, and names are just stupid.
Yeah. Well, a lot of fantasy maps, probably more of thought going into it and consideration. Real names that just evolve from whatever over a long time, so to speak.
When I was DMing 5th edition a few years ago, I really didn't. I'm a terrible DM because I don't put any time into it, because I procrastinate and I don't want to prepare, and then
I just fly seat of your pants, no prep.
Right, but it stresses me out that I didn't do any prep work. Right. So what I ended up doing is I just kind of had this sort of a regional adventure, and we started, and I'm like, okay, guys, you guys are in a town, and they're like, well, what's it called? I'm like, I don't know, so let's make it up. You guys tell me. And we literally, in real life, we were in the town of Beechwood.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
and
So
the
it's
next town over was Pine Beach. So they said, okay, the town is Pinewood.
there you
They
go.
just combined the two.
Mm-hmm.
The town is Pinewood.
Yep.
And
But if
so
you can
like,
be, oh, sorry. Yeah.
and you're in a tavern, and I'm like, give me a tavern name. So I basically made the players do everything as far as creating the
Oh,
world.
yeah.
let them
But
come up with the names.
yeah, but realize that I'm the chronic over prepper, and I still
Yeah.
feel like I haven't done enough, so to speak. So you're much smarter. You do nothing, and I work like 10 hours for each session, and still feel like I haven't done enough. So yeah.
Uh, I have such I don't know why it induces so much anxiety in me to sit down and prep for an adventure.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm
then when I
still
didn't, I get more anxiety because now I'm sitting there at a session and I've got nothing. You know, I've got an
yeah.
idea in my head, but ugh, I'm actually tentatively working on an adventure based on the 13th Warrior, the Eaters of the Dead,
Mm-hmm.
using the Paleomythic system, which is great. I really like. I read the rule book. It's the first cover to cover rule book I've read in many years. God, I don't even know. I don't think I've ever read cover to cover, even third edition D&D, which I, loved. But who can read that shit cover to cover when especially once you
That's the thing. I think I read first edition cover to cover because that was the first edition of D&D that I really
right,
got into. But then once you do it, I always felt like I know D&D. I just read the
right,
changes as I went along, so to speak. I never read the
right.
introductory chapter and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I just
Yeah,
okay. I need rules for mounted combat. So then I go in and find that
exactly.
and I read that a little bit. So you kind of read
But
it as needed.
Paleomythic is so different and actually so simple.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to run something in it, but when it comes to writing the adventure itself, to like putting it down on paper, like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
stress.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I end up running it. It's a fairly cool, simple system
Yeah.
where characters are based on traits and talents. And
Okay.
the traits are just there's a list I suppose you can make up your own, but there is a core list of traits in the book which are just adjectives.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It sounds a bit like the fate in that sense.
it might be, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
fate
it's
is a
got,
little bit like
traits are
that too.
like willful or
Mm-hmm.
strong
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, fate
And
has them.
a character might have uh, at most at character creation you'll have 6 or 7 traits. And talents are sort of like classes, but a character even at even at character creation a character there are no levels. At character creation a character could have up to 3 talents. So they're somewhere between a feat
And a skill.
and a character class,
Okay.
right? They're a little more than like a D&D feat,
Yeah.
but they're not quite a full-fledged class. So you might have a talent that is a tracker or healer
Yeah.
or whatever, and each
Mm-hmm.
one of those has various abilities that you
Yeah.
can
They give you more than a plus in a single die roll type. They give you a broader
they give
range.
you things that
Yeah.
like you might automatically succeed. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, there's a talent called Shadower, I guess, which is sort of a stealth related talent that you can sort of pretend to be something else. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can appear
Yeah.
as long as you're in shadow and out and beyond rock throwing range. Actually, that's one of the really cool things that they
Rock
do.
throwing range. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
range is by it's paleomythic, right? So range is rock, spear, arrow, and beyond that. That's it, right?
That's
Those
super cool. Yeah.
So they're like, as long as you're beyond rock throwing range and you're in shadow, you can make your form appear as that of an animal of some
Ah.
sort, right? And as long as you're shadow, even if you're in open ground, you will automatically succeed in stealth as long as the person, as long as the thing you're trying to hide from doesn't have the trait aware. Whereas normal characters who don't have the shadow or talent will still have to roll a stealth check to see if they succeed. So
Cool.
yeah, the talents give you various abilities like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you could have more than one even at character creation, but maximum 3.
Cool.
Um, and it's just very simple. All you need to do is to roll. You roll only d6s. You roll as many d6s as you have traits, and that's the balancing point where
Mm-hmm.
you could have more. The more at character creation, the more talents you have, the less traits you have. So you might have more of these sort of abilities, special feats in a sense, but you roll fewer dice because you only roll as many dice as you have traits. So if you have 4 or 5 traits, wise, willful, strong, agile, whatever, you will roll 4 dice, and you only need a 6 in order to succeed. You need 1 6 in order to succeed in whatever you're doing, which is almost too simplistic for me. If I was DMing it, I would require in some cases more than 1 success.
Yeah.
That way you can do sort of
Mm-hmm.
opposed tests and who
Yeah.
gets more successes. But and then if you get the way health works, when you get injured, you choose. An injury means you lose 1 trait temporarily. And you choose, as the player, you choose which one to remove. And so, and when you hit 0 traits, you die.
That's a novel. I never heard of that way of you take away abilities, and then when you have no abilities left, or like things you can do, then yeah.
So you start rolling fewer and fewer dice the more
Mhm.
injured you are. And you might only have 4 or 5 traits at character creation, or even less. If you took 3 talents, you're only going to have 2 traits, which is only 2 dice to roll.
Mhm.
You can have up to 2 flaws, and the flaws are basically the negative adjectives of the opposite. So opposite of strong will be weak.
Mhm.
So those will add a couple more things. Flaws will enable you to take 2 more traits, but still you're gonna have trouble, and you start, as you get injured, you roll fewer and fewer. But the cool thing is, if you have, let's say the list of traits are what is like strong, agile, wise, willful, let's say, the DM, different situations require a specific, they say a specific trait. So they'll say roll a strong check, right?
Mhm.
And anyone can roll a strong check, even if they don't have the strong trait. If you do have the strong trait, you get an extra die to roll for that test. So if you have the trait for which the test is named, the relevant trait for that test, you get an extra one. You get an extra die for that. So you kind of have to think of which ones, when you get injured, you have to think of which one do I want to get rid of, because what's more likely to be used in this situation. So if you're a melee fighter, you're going to use strength or strong more often, so you're gonna maybe want to keep that. So it's a really cool system. I really want to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
Armor is just, when you get, armor can take 1 hit before it breaks, and you have, arm armor, leg armor, chest, head.
Okay.
And so you choose when you take, and you might not have all of those because it's supposed to be a Stone Age thing. So materials are tough to come by.
Like skin, and are there different types? So if you get like a bear
there's
skin, that will be different than something else.
There's soft armor and hard armor. So skin and bone, wood, things like that. And you can, and they work better against different types of attacks. It's not very complicated. That sounds like it's complicating things, but it's not. I think hard armor may be able to take 1 more hit, against some things than soft armor. and yeah, that's pretty much and once it takes that hit, it's gone. It's doesn't function anymore. So it can absorb. So your armor can absorb some injuries, and you decide as the player getting hit. You decide according to the
That's
rules.
cool.
You decide where it hit you. I mean, as a DM, I can always decide, but
Yeah.
They do have rules in it, like if you want to play with some more advanced, like with steel armor and steel weapons, then that equipment just can take one more hit before it becomes useless.
Yeah.
And there are rules for crafting and things like that. You need certain materials, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Here comes oh damn. I need to fix the change the name of Nanon's Haven to as a tribute to the German LG Living Greyhawk campaign, because they're the ones that invented the place. So now just need to see if I can take away national, and yeah, there we go. And now this is the problem when things react slowly and your computer doesn't react fast. Then you get all sorts, because you click and nothing happened, then you click again and again,
Right,
and then everything happens after 20 seconds instead. So it's kind of, yeah, there we go. And now I can paste it in, so I get there we go, 2N and an F. And now I need to, it's 7, yeah, it's the right size. And then I turn it from, I outline it, so I turn it from edible text to outlines, because otherwise Illustrator would not be able to handle this much stuff. So now I just need to give it the right style here. So like you see, there is a lot of work to get all of this done. So there we go. But half of it is actually waiting for the damn computer to.
Alyssa, stop with the shingles.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get too caught up in the
help
single
it.
roof. Yep.
Help!
Take the pen away.
Yeah, you realize that there's no therapy for that, so you need to sort it out. Yep.
Is that a tree?
Yep.
It's massive.
Yeah, well, there's meant to be an elven influence in here, so I figured, well,
Oh yeah,
I'll do
I'll do
a big old tree in here.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe the last one that never got chopped down.
Jeez.
Hang on a second. I think Alyssa, your desktop is much more interesting than me. So I'm going to see if
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm just drawing ink.
I'm moving your desktop above mine, because it's just my layer list over there anyway. So it's kind of boring. So I put yours on top for a bit.
Alyssa, do you have to constantly remind yourself of the scale of your map?
Yes.
So
all
that
the freaking time.
Because like you can start build just size creep. You can.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
One way or the other, I can actually go too small too if I'm not careful. I have to level set all of the time.
Yep.
Like sometimes I'll just zoom out to see it just a level set, like on the scale that I'm currently drawing.
Yep.
And sometimes I actually have a layer and it's there. So I don't know if you could see that.
Oh, you have the grid reference.
I have a little scale, but my scale is in building sizes.
That's
so
awesome.
This is like the smallest building that I wanted to do. So occasionally I'll just come back to that, or I'll just outright have a scale bar, and I'll occasionally just drag it to the building that I'm drawing.
Yeah.
So you don't have a particular bit. Wait, when you say that's the smallest, what am I looking at? All I can see is.
Let me put it. Yeah. This. Do you see that right there?
No.
It's like a grid.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And if I zoom in on the grid.
Oh, so the outline, those little
each one of those is a building of about 6 people.
Each one of those little rectangles.
Yes. I don't want to go smaller than that. Well, no, the overall is 100 buildings.
Okay.
So
you don't want to go
zoomed out is about 20,000 people.
Right. And
Yeah.
you don't want to
At
go any
scale.
smaller than those small
I don't want to go
buildings.
smaller than that. Which sounds easy, right? Except over here, I was doing small over and over and over, and I was staying small. Thank you, Anne. So I actually had to level set a little bit as I came into the building. I would actually want most of the buildings to be about this size, right there.
Yeah, but that's a great question, Fear. And when I work with elevation in height maps, I have the same thing too. I have to kind of look back and have a reference, so I don't make everything Mount Everest size, so to speak. So that's why I put in a reference square or circle that I put up at the highest level. So I can look at the mountain, so I can see that, okay, that's the highest mountain in the world is that high. Meaning the edge of this map is 100 miles, and that's like 20 kilometers up. So it's like 12 miles up. And that means that I need to, so I reference things, so I realize that is that high. Otherwise I would like pop everything up to almost the highest, because you want to.
Is that a tree house?
That's what I'm doing. Yep.
that is so cool. That is awesome.
It's like a
Yeah,
tower.
I want to at least get the sense of a tree house. I mean, this thing's going to be so small. And what would a tree house be doing in the middle of one thing? But maybe it's almost like an American Indian, refuge. Maybe this is the zone where it's like.
It's an Elven PR office. They want to show off their cultural prowess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is your area.
Mm-hmm.
It's near the actual logging industry, and that's not a slight upon your race at all. Apologies.
Yep. Hello,
But here's
Gribbly.
your
Welcome.
2 trees.
Yep. Welcome, Gribbly.
Have fun. So it's like, I mean, Kafir, if you had to draw a city and you had to have an elven influence in that city, just an elven influence, mind, what would it be? What would you do?
I mean, if it's classic elves, then you've got it right. I mean, just trees and
it's been taken over now. It's not an elven city anymore, but
it's yeah, you'd leave some trees from the past, some big ones left over, I guess. If any buildings, if they had actual buildings, then they're probably, in classic fantasy, it's all, going to be more graceful and maybe lighter colors than the rest. I don't know. More round shapes rather than square.
that's kind of my plan. That is kind of my plan. Exactly.
But that all depends on the world you're in, I guess. I don't know.
I'm gonna give them, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 buildings, and that's your reservation. Stay there.
It's the Ewok park. It's the Ewok petting zoo. What do you think of the old Forgotten Realms Myth Draenor city maps for elven influence? Good question. I don't know. I've never seen them.
Anna, have you heard of that?
Myth Draenor?
Oh yeah, I've heard of the city, but I don't know much about it. That's a perfect question for Ed Greenwood, and we would get 30 minutes of Myth Draenor lore and all the cool stuff. So yeah.
He's such a cool dude. I watched a stream where he was on the Fate of the Norns stream.
Yeah.
And they've been doing a lot of work with him. And he's a cool dude. He's kind of like Larry. Awesome. You get him talking, and he will just.
He's just awesome. Yep.
It's like watching Gandalf just start telling stories.
Yeah. Yep. He's such a wonderful person. Yeah.
With Draenor maps, let's see. And And these days, it's so hard to tell. Like, what is an official map? What was drawn by fans? Does it matter? Yeah.
Now I have
If
to
you
remember-
have Gribbly, if Anna, do you allow links in your chat?
Sure, yeah.
So if
You
Gribbly, if
should.
you
I
have,
don't think I've set. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, then post it in, and I'll
Right.
post it in if it doesn't.
if you have a particular map in mind, Gribbly, feel free to post a link to it in the chat. We'll
Yeah.
take a look. I found a couple on webs, but I don't know which. Oh, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so there's one that I'll post that you guys can look at, and it has big trees, huge. I mean, when you really look at the scale of the small buildings versus those massive trees and the buildings that are on those trees, it's like a completely different scaled map. You could fit an entire neighborhood in just one of those buildings that is on a tree.
Did you?
Yeah,
Put it somewhere?
it's in the Twitch
Yeah,
chat.
mhm.
Let me put that in
Yeah.
the Zoom chat as well.
Now I'm getting.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, the top and right edge.
Mega big. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, like
Mega big.
huge. Compare that to the, let's say it's an average farmhouse down below, but some of those, like, there's some buildings with towers and shit, so those are not just average farmhouse. And you could fit a couple dozen of those buildings in the smaller ones that are up in a tree. So that's kind of
There we
insane.
go. Yeah, that was the one.
Was that an official map? I don't know.
Mythbrenner? No, I don't. It doesn't look official, but it looks really cool. Yeah. But I'm not an expert on Forgotten Realms maps. That's why we're going to have a fantasy mapping show with Ed Greenwood soon, where we will go over cartography of Forgotten Realms. So that will be a cool one to watch.
I better get my interviewer head on then for that one.
Hello, Quantum Weasel. Welcome.
Hello, Quantum.
Scale might be questionable, but the aesthetics are what I remember. Gotcha.
Yeah. And Alyssa Faden, she's working on Womtham for Greyhawk.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that is an interesting way of creating buildings in trees. So you got layers. Some of the tree parts are obviously underneath, and some of them are over, and you've got basically a huge tree trunk with branches coming out of the center of a roof, so you know that it's.
I don't think
out
my
of the-
trees are that big. That's Avatar big right there.
Yeah, that is yeah.
And honestly, I mean, Womtham is a logging town. And I'm going to guess any tree like that they chopped down a long time ago, just like the Pacific Northwest, you know?
Yep.
While the elves and the druids were crying about it.
Yep. Welcome, Cranston Snord. Wonderful. Thank you.
So
for
then
coming.
you got
Oh, Cranston Snord. I know Cranston Snord.
Okay, cool. It's one of your friends. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know. I think the last time I saw Cranston Snord might have been 18 months ago.
Okay.
He's been hanging out on my channel.
And I haven't streamed in forever. This is my crowd hasn't even figured out that I'm still streaming, or I've started to stream again, Anna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you got the better deal. You're not streaming on your own channel. You're just like a guest.
Yeah, like
And then
me
you
on
can be
Lord
like, I don't
Gazumba
feel like
channel, so I don't have to do anything there. But now I have to do something. But this is, you have to realize we're not using not even 10% of all the cool features of Twitch. We're just hanging out, mapping, and doing our stuff here. So yeah. We go. And
Geek, do you still stream?
Wait, you talking to me?
Yeah. Who else here was called Geek?
I think it clipped the first word or something. I didn't hear it. Yeah, every day.
Oh, cool. I
Every
need to
damn
watch
day.
more often. Yep.
I've only had a couple of commissions so far this year. So as far as actual work, that's kind of rare. Like I just finished a commission last night of a turkey. Here, if you can.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
It was a it
That's
was a
awesome.
it was a trade with a friend. He edited a couple of videos for me, and he wanted a turkey for his grandfather, who was a turkey hunter.
Yeah.
So I did the turkey, but I only had a couple of small maps this year, and until I start the first stage Middle Earth, which I expect I'll start in the next couple of weeks, but until that happens, I'm just gonna play games.
Yeah.
I just stream to hang out with friends. That's all.
That's
What are
one
you
of the
playing?
main reasons to do this too. But and also to actually be forced to actually sit here and work.
Yeah,
And
that's a
not
big one.
slack away
Yeah.
of doing anything else. So you're forced to work. And also for me now to be social with you guys and everyone in chat is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really, I've said it many times. Twitch is the best thing I've done for my creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least it's kind of changed now, but when when I was still doing conventions and all of
Mhm.
that, if I was not streaming, my thought process would be, well, I have enough different maps to fill a booth, so fuck it, I don't need to do any more, right? And so I would just be lazy and not do anything. But
Yeah.
if I'm streaming my work, it forced me to come up with new projects, and it also helped. I'd probably get a commission a year
Mhm.
from the stream community. So it also helped in that sense. But now that I decided to just stop with conventions, then I don't have that need.
Yeah.
But during COVID, it was a much needed social outlet. So it makes my work more fun for me to just
Yeah.
hang out with people
Mhm.
and all that. Alyssa, to answer your question, I've been playing. I usually have 2 or 3 games at a time that I'm sort of kind of in progress of, but I've been in the last couple of weeks. I've been focusing on Thief, the original Thief game.
Nice, good
So
choice.
So I finished that one. It's in my top 5 games of all time.
Incredible game. Incredible
Yeah.
game.
Just they don't make them like that anymore.
Nuh-uh.
So we finished Thief 1 just a few days ago, and we're up to Thief 2 now. So I would love that. It's one of those things. The Thief, the world building that they did is so amazing that I would love to play in a tabletop RPG that's in that setting. But then when I really stop to think about it, it's like, well, as a thief, you really want to be on your own.
Yeah.
In a group. The worst thing, I am very realistic because I actually do have real life experience, not in being a thief so much, but in stealth.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of sneaking around, both in urban and wilderness environments, and sneaking up on both humans and animals.
Yep.
And it pisses me off when I'm at the table as if I'm playing like a rogue or a ranger, and I'm trying to do the sneaky thing, and then other characters are doing something that completely ruins that. God damn it! I have one job.
Yep.
Let me do it.
Oh, that is one of my all-time favorite. Well, it's not an all-time favorite story. It's one of my all-time favorite meltdowns at a table, because I was playing a rogue, and this was my moment to shine. And I was sneaking into the area, and it's not like I was going too far ahead or anything. Just scoping it out, and one room ahead, and it's like we're talking. It was high level too. So if shit goes wrong, shit is going to go wrong. And I was rolling well, and I'm sneaking, and I'm doing my thing. And I guess 2 at the party, Dave and James, I'm calling you out right now, got bored or something.
Yeah.
And they came in with torches going, how's it going? And honestly, Jack was running the game. Jack was like, yeah, okay, so initiatize, because shit kicked off immediately.
Yep.
And
That's great.
It ended up being a partial TPK. Like we had to leave.
Yep.
Shit got
That's
bad.
great.
And I personally, in real life, saw my ass. I was like, this is not cool. You just took away my opportunity to shine. And it ended up being an evolutionary moment for our group because we were like, what I should have done was out of character. Guys, do you really want to do that? And we should have allowed them to go, well, actually, no, we're just going to stay back, you know?
Right.
But we were too immature as a group. So it's like, hey, what you doing? And Jack was like, okay, it's initiatize.
I had the same exact situation happen in an online campaign just a year, maybe a year and a half ago. And I was a rogue and we were heading down to some underground tomb or something where if you've played D&D for more than an hour, you know there are going to be traps down there or some sort of nasties. And I went ahead. I told everyone, stay here. I'm going to go scout it out. And they literally, they didn't let me go more than 2 minutes, right? Before they're like, okay, we're going to move on.
Yeah. Oh, you
And
have to say welcome to Big Tuna Neil.
hey, Tuna, what's going on?
Hey,
Streaming
Tuna.
allows Cave to stay social and keep the hell away from the general public. Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Welcome. I'm sorry, didn't
and they
see
walked
it first.
right into this chamber that I was investigating, and they woke up whatever nasties were in it, and I'm like, what is the fucking point? You know, like just.
But that's the point that Gribbly, I think that's a point to get like some sort of cohesion in the party, so you don't just like get a ragtag bunch of characters. Sometimes that could work, but sometimes you want to have a party that is composed for the mission and have like they're together, not mechanically but also in the setting and the story, and the characters are invested in the
each
story,
other
in the story and stuff. So it's not just like, oh, we have a healer and a rogue and a tank and stuff like that. That kind of, it's too much video game talk for me, so to speak. I want to.
Right. I was actually talking about that last night playing Thief, I think, because in Thief, the gear that you collect, that you find in one mission, does not carry over to the next one if you didn't use it. And it's annoying. I understand why they do that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be challenging anymore because you just get more and more of it. But I'm like, okay, maybe you can say that in between missions, some time passes, and it doesn't quite work that way in the story, because sometimes they're literally like the way the game progresses the story, that you're literally moving from one thing to the next with no time passing in between. And all of your gear is gone, so or most of it. But that's my biggest problem in D&D and I think the hardest thing for a DM is why is this group together? Because I need to have some reasoning for it. Like, why is my character doing it? And I am also guilty of creating a character that has no reason to go on adventures. I've done that. Like my last character, not my current one, but my last one was a 300-year-old human druid who basically is immortal. He was level 1, right? But he was basically an immortal old man who was a crotchety, bitter, angry old man living in the sewers. And I feel sorry for my DM, because he was like, why would this character want to leave his little hovel and go across, halfway across the world to save the world? Like, he has not much reasoning to do that. So it's a tough job for a DM to come up with the reasons of why would we want to go do this dangerous thing when we have a comfortable life right where we are.
That's why I want to start low level, and I usually have 10 sessions before you even get to the mission to ground it into the setting, and I
That's
also
great.
try to limit what classes, races, and stuff that the characters can be to suit the campaign story, the overarching.
That's more my style.
So right now it's a human only campaign and stuff, and my next campaign will be an elven campaign, or predominantly elven. So then I want to half elves and stuff that fit in. So I'm limiting per campaign basis where they come from, who they are, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I present often a short list of these are the type of characters and pick from it, and then we develop the abilities and skills and stuff from there.
He kind of solved it because they were sent to me to sort of, because I had, a particular set of skills, right, that they needed. I knew the underground. I knew all the sewer systems in the city, and they needed to get from point A to point B, and they were sent to me to be their guide by an acquaintance or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I sort of developed a sort of parental responsibility for all these whippersnappers that are getting themselves into trouble. So I kind of stuck around with them,
Yep.
despite being a crotchety old man.
Oh,
So
yeah. Sorry.
yeah, so
I'm just going to say that I'm putting in stuff. This is Len Lakofka stuff. Legolas Grove and the Tree Ant Mood here are I'm redesigning the Axewood according to Len Lakofka's directions here a bit. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah.
and then we started a new campaign, and my DM, I've said this a million times. He's a genius in the way he's doing it. He's been having us. It's his own homebrew world, and he's had us create. This is our third campaign, and what he's doing is he has us create a set of characters. We play them from level 1 through 5, and then we stop and we play, and it comes to some sort of a climax, right? And then we start another campaign, levels 1 through 5, and then a third one, level 1 through 5, and then he's going to have us choose, provided all your characters survive, which so far they have. He's going to have us choose one of those three, and he's going to stitch the stories together to bring that final group that's composed of just the characters we each choose of our three that we've played. And we're going to take that character from level 5 through to the end of the campaign, which is
Okay.
probably going to be
Cool.
10 to
Yeah.
12, which kind of, I like that because
Mhm.
it allows us to see, rather than playing the same character for long time, it allows us to just play a different characters, but the
Yeah.
story itself is an overall story that's happening in the world. So it allows us to see more of the story. It doesn't escalate things very quickly, so we stay in the lower levels without things getting out of control that higher levels can.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun.
That
My
sounds
current
great.
character is basically the feral kid from Mad Max 2. Or if Gollum and Mowgli got combined into one and raised by kobolds instead of wolves,
Ooh. Wow.
So he's an indeterminate race. We use the new 5th edition stuff for like a custom sort of lineage.
Yeah.
So he's outwardly kind of looks human, but he has kind of sharp teeth. He might have sharpened his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 12-year-old child basically, but I rolled really well. So he's one of the strongest, fastest, he's got a dexterity of 18, constitution 18, strength 16, and he's a
Wow.
12-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I could probably take on the entire rest of the party.
Wow.
And kick their asses just based on that. And level 1, he's a rogue at level 1. And the DM, and he doesn't talk, he's a feral child, really. He understands like 3 different languages, but he just growls. I just
Mm-hmm.
intend to growl most
Yep.
of the time. And the DM told me, you just made another character that's really hard, like, to explain why he would go on adventures. I'm like, no, it's not. Just give him some food. just feed me. Like, have one of the other characters feed me, and done.
Yeah.
I'll follow them around like a puppy. So he's like, okay, fine. And he literally did that.
Wow.
We played a session 0 just last
Yeah.
Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and he had one of the other characters. She was out. She's like an 18. A lot of the characters in this particular party are young.
Mm-hmm.
like under 20. They're all
Oh yeah,
teenagers.
I started my Shieldlands campaign at 0 level, and we played like 10 sessions before they even got their first level, and they were like
Oh,
teenagers, like
wow,
15,
that's really
16
cool.
years
That's
old.
really cool. I'd love to do
Yeah,
that
because
someday.
that way I can control. They only learn all the skills and get the equipment and stuff that will be viable for the campaign, and they will have a home. They feel like that's the place we come from, and
Hmm.
they will get a home base automatically. And there will be no like, oh, I want to have this cool thing and I want to have that, because it's only what's available in that village. That's their world to begin with, so to speak. Only what they can learn and what they can equip themselves with and stuff, what's there. There's nothing else to go by.
Do you also sort of do a, like, they don't know what class they're going to be and just the
Exactly.
things that
They
happen to
they
them?
have to acquire the skills. If they want to be a ranger, they have to find someone to teach. They have to go and do rangery things and attempt it and all that stuff. So yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so they have to acquire. So the backstory, instead of just saying, "Oh, you have a backstory and this is what happened," we playing the backstory together. So they create the backstory in
Man,
the
I love
first
that.
10 sessions. Yeah. And I have like a learning system. So when you want to learn, let's say you say, I want to learn, I want to be a wizard, and I want to learn, and you know nothing. Then you can say that, oh, I know that there is something called magic, and I want to try and do my first cantrip. And you know that there is something called magic. You've never seen it being performed. You have no clue on it's actually how it's done. Then once a day you can roll a d20, and you get like your intelligence bonus. If you roll a 20 with your intelligence bonus, which is probably a minus or a 0 or maybe a +1 or something, because you don't have full abilities either. You only have like a little bit of the points, so to speak. So your best ability might be a 12 or something, and the worst is like an 8 or something. So they're between 8 and 12. And that means that you might get, like, if you want to be a wizard, then you probably put up enough so you have like intelligence 11 or 12. So you might have +1. So you basically have to roll. So you probably have to roll at least 20 days to get a d20 roughly. On if you roll average, you have to roll for like a month in order to get that 20. And that meant that, okay, now you managed to get a pop off a cantrip. And that means that, okay, so from now on it's much easier. Then it pops down to, you only have to roll 16 in order to succeed, or 15 or something like that. So all of a
Mhm.
sudden you get like +4 on the roll, and then you keep doing it, and if you've done it a bunch of times, you know that spell. That's one way of learning something. You learn it by
That's cool.
trial and error. And then there is the stuff, and if you've seen someone do the cantrip, all of a sudden you get like a +5 or +6 on the roll, because, oh, you pick up stuff, so to speak. So then you figure out, okay, or maybe you've seen a wizard in action. He hasn't cast that spell, but you know a little bit about it, and you can see, oh, he's doing movements and he's using stuff. Then you get like a +2 on the roll, and then you've seen someone do that specific spell, then you get like +4 on the roll. And then you have a wizard teaching you. Then you can spend a week and you don't have to roll, you
Mm.
automatically learn, so to speak. So to have someone
Yeah,
to teach you
I
the
did.
skill, yeah.
I did something similar when I DM'd third edition,
Mm-hmm.
because third edition actually had skill points
Yeah.
that mattered.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, I hate fifth edition for taking skills out.
Yeah, but they
And
simplified it a
when
bit, and it's yeah.
when if a character rolled a 1 or a 20
Mm-hmm.
on a skill check, I would have them put a little tick mark next to a little hash mark next to that skill on the character sheet.
Then they
And
can
when
level it up, or
yeah, so when they would get to like maybe 10 hash marks, uh I would have them just automatically just give them another skill, another
mm-hmm.
rank in that.
Yep.
Because, and the 1s or 20s, because you learn just as much or even more from failures.
Yeah.
And but if they wanted to level up in between, no, when they leveled up their character, if they wanted to get more skill points in a skill, I would look at how much they've used that skill.
Mm-hmm.
How many 1s or 20 hash marks do you have? How many hash marks do you have next to it? And that would tell me, just as a rough gauge of, can you level that up without seeking training in it? Have you done it enough that you
Yeah.
don't need to look for someone to teach you? Skill points in third is the main reason I like it over others. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
it's a yeah, but I liked it and both in 3.5 and Pathfinder, but I'm getting into it as a from a DM perspective. It works kind of from in 5e. There's a but you have advantage and stuff. Oh, you can get like a extra proficiency die. You get that expertise die, so you can get like a D4, D6, D8 to boost it, which is kind of a yeah, it's not a perfect, but it works. I'm okay with it, so to speak. I'm not over the moon about skill system in 5e, but it works. I like
Okay.
in 5e. I like the basic math. It doesn't meaning what the problem I had with third edition and Pathfinder, all the third edition era D&D and derivatives was the fact that armor class and to hit just inflated. So that meant that if you had a first level character, it couldn't even hit or damage someone who was 10th level or beyond because the numbers were, it was mathematically out of that character's range when you got up. And that
That's
is,
always been the case with D&D.
yeah, but that's something they fixed in 5th edition and I like it.
How so?
Because they have much more, you don't increase the to hit and so on per level. You don't add +1 +10 when you're 10th level. You add like +1 every 4 or 5 levels. So it's and you get it for expertise. You don't increase everything just because you're leveled up. And to me that's cool. You actually have to become better at that skill. It doesn't automatically like, oh, I level up, so now everything is +1, so to speak. And I really like Pathfinder 2 has taken a similar approach too. They to some degree, but less degree. But there is an option in Pathfinder 2 to remove the +1 per level on every roll, which if I run Pathfinder 2, I will go with that one because that makes the game grittier and the math doesn't inflate out of stuff. So it's, and the other benefit with it is that a magic weapon, a +1 weapon is a useful and a really cool tool throughout the career. In third edition D&D, a +1 weapon is fantastic to begin with, but all of a sudden it's kind of useless when you level up. And so I want to keep, meaning there's one, a really good character has +10 to hit. The best swordsman in the world have like +15. So I want to have, there is simply the best and the average. The average dude has +1 maybe, and the best one is +20, and everyone is somewhere in between. And that I really like that math works much easier. It's much easier to see. So I like that they reined in the inflation in because there's no reason when the armor class inflate and the to hit inflate, that just diversify it unnecessarily to me, or inflate it unnecessarily. But for some people, that kind of escalating math is kind of cool. But for me, it didn't make sense really. Thank you, Arg Scott, and welcome. Yep. So when I read the I think it was Mike Merles when he wrote when he was designing what was then called D&D Next, that will be D&D 5th edition. He had a bunch of design documents and stuff when he presented the reasoning behind what 5e, and that was one of the points he really made into that the to hit and armor class and stuff should stay consistent throughout the game. And that would to me made a lot of sense. So when it comes to them, that's why I use advanced 5e or level up from Ian World as my, which is like a 5e offshoot for my rules. So yeah. I'm working on updating the 598 map. So I'm going all over the place right now. I'm in the Sea of Dust, and I'm moving Lonakar over to a spot that much better fits Amy Crittenden's fantastic article in Earth Journal about Lonakar. So yeah.
Hey, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Why do you not have for that broken line for the wall you just did? Why do you not have like a brush that would do that, or do you want it to be just slightly irregular?
I want it to be imperfect. because if it's too perfect, it feels too modern. It feels too good. I do that when I want it to feel precise. So that type of thing with temples or more modern maps, I'll do. Otherwise, particularly at this scale, if you think about this is going to print out like this, you know. I like a level of imperfection. It feels more real, if anything.
Yeah. I'm assuming you can create a brush that has some randomness to it that would do that, but
So
I don't know. Randomness, yes. You can definitely get some randomness. Randomness in a straight line like this? Maybe. But I also like I feel like when a human draws it and does a little erasing, it feels human.
yeah.
You know,
that's why I do a lot of
look at it as human.
Yeah, that's why I do a lot of touch up or texturing work and stuff like that, and touch up my splat maps and stuff. I don't use I add a human touch to the terrain and stuff that way, because the computer stuff looks computer generated to a bit. If you put in that natural variation, you can, to a large degree, you can do that if you just put enough fractal noise and stuff one on top of the other. It looks natural, but it's still sometimes better to get that artistic touch on top of it, so to speak. So I'm totally with you on that one, Alyssa. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Let's see here. Now I need to adjust the border here a bit. So
Alyssa, what are the concentric circles? Gribbly's asking.
Oh, they're going to be chimney stacks.
Oh.
I want the northern part of the city to feel industrial. And there's smelting that goes on here. There's a whole logging industry that goes on here. So I'm going to pollute the shit out of this. Plus, I'm going to have the dwarves.
Waltham city residents are now being polluted.
I want the north part to feel industrial. And I'm going to put the dwarves up here,
but it's kind of funny. Everybody thought it was like, oh, it's this wonderful, cute place next to the Gamboge Forest. Now you turn it into an industrial.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm gonna have smoke coming off these mothers and everything.
That's
nice.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. Yeah.
You wouldn't put the tanneries upstream, Gribbly.
Exactly, you put them down. But the problem is that the capital is downstream, so tannery might not be, well, it's diluted when it's going 100 miles down the river. It might be, oh damn, now I screwed up here. So yeah, here we go.
I like the idea though of that. Like I could see painting some pollution into this river because it's going to flow north to south.
Yeah.
Right.
And that would be kind of cool. That'd be a nice texture to the river, having a little bit of that. There are no tanneries to the north. It is just all logging, like lumber.
Right.
We're going to have plenty of smelting and that type of thing going on up here. And we'll get a little bit of that pollution going on.
Uh-oh, that didn't work either.
But maybe I should do a little tannery down here just to have a big, huge, like horrible.
They'd be probably floating logs down the river, so they'd have to.
Actually, so Kafir,
Mm-hmm.
check it out. Yes, I'm definitely going to do floating logs. In fact, let me zoom in even further.
Either they're floating individual, like on their own, or they're tying them up in rafts and then rafting them down.
I'm gonna raft this whole area.
Oh, look at those logs!
Yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think like just even looking at the Pacific Northwest, right? The floating logs, big huge islands of logs. This area, that's what I'm gonna do. I want to almost have a choke point in the river of logs.
I wonder how they did it in the past. Like, how did they have some sort of structures coming out onto the water to grab the logs?
I think in Sweden they up until recently, up until the 60s, 70s, they actually did old style when they put logs down the rivers. And what they did was they bundled them up
Right.
and then they let them first when the rivers were small, they floated them one by one, and when it got to the major river, they bundled them up, and they had like a technique with very little rope. They somehow managed to kind of get them together. That was like a really dangerous job when they were standing there, and they had special kind of a hook thing,
Hmm.
and they jumped around on the logs from small little boats, and they bundled them up, and then they floated down to the paper mill or the sawmill, or the processing where they cut them up, or something,
Yeah.
and collected them, so to speak. That's one thing. And but in Russia, there are examples of what they did was that they waited. So they put together, they cut down trees for months, and then when the rivers in late spring, early summer, when the rivers were ready, so to speak, and ice free, what they did was that they built like big boats. Basically, they put together the logs into gigantic, looked like Noah's arks, enormous arcs with little houses and tents and stuff on top, and they didn't use nails. They just used like ropes and just kind of put
Hmm.
them together. And then they went down and basically like big enormous barges, like 100
Right.
meters long, like 300 feet or something, really huge enormous structures. And there's some you can Google it and see. And then floated down, and then when they came to the city, and then they dismantled the whole thing,
Yeah.
and took away all the stuff, so to speak. So I can imagine that they, like in a fantasy world, they create huge barges where people can migrate on top of down to big city, and that's when they dismantle. And Womtham would be the kind of the end for a lot of that journey, when they convert the timber into other products like furniture, building material, and all that stuff.
I maybe Anna. I know those Russian boats you're talking about. And
Yeah.
by the way, everyone in the audience, no matter how big you're thinking, they were bigger.
Yeah, they were enormous. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, but those,
like huge
yeah,
things.
but now we're talking like 19th century, early 20th
True,
century.
but I'm
Yeah.
wondering if I could
In
draw one
fantasy
of
world,
those.
you could, with a bit of magic and stuff, you could definitely do the same thing in a fantasy world. So because
Right.
they were done with
So-
primitive technology.
Should I draw one and want them?
Yeah, you could draw one that is like partially dismantled and or something like that, sitting in the harbor or something. Yeah, I think that will be cool.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's
Mhm.
because that shows an advanced logging
Yeah.
capability.
Yeah.
One of
I'm
my
gonna do it.
favorite songs is called "Breakfast in Hell," and it
Uh-oh.
tells the real story of. God, I forget. I'm gonna
That
have to
sounds
listen
tough. If your favorite, one of my favorite songs is Breakfast in Hell. Yeah. Mhm.
to it. It's a story of loggers in Canada, in the eastern shore of Canada, I think that
Yeah.
and it tells a story of this one legendary guy who died breaking up a log jam.
Oh yeah, there were lots of workers who perished in that, because that was one of the that was one of the most dangerous jobs you can do.
Here's the link to the song
Yeah,
if
because
anyone
you
cares.
walked around on logs that could roll around, and you could fall in, and it was like sometimes it was a rapid river, ice cold water. It was
Mhm.
nasty. Yeah. And I remember that was going on because when I was a kid, we saw on TV that they were still doing it in the 60s and early 70s in Sweden. And then it got replaced with trucks and lorries and stuff when they started trucking the timber from the forest instead.
What's that, Alyssa? That hex?
Oh, I'm going to be drawing a big, huge dwarven statue
Okay. Wow.
on top of this fortress.
Mm-hmm.
Dwarves are really sensitive about their height thing, right? I mean,
So
in every fantasy setting, dwarves always build these enormous things.
Yeah, but that kind of makes sense. They need to compensate for their minute stature
Yeah.
by building stuff that are
Right?
Yeah.
Even in my own setting that I never, really
Hang on a second.
put down on
Ports
paper.
on near Dub. That's a good question, Gabriel. Let's take a peek here at the map here. So let me on and their near Duve coast is not that far. They only have this little bit. So I would say that yes, they have one. Hammersend. Hammondsend is the only decent port from near Duve. It's their near Duve port, so to speak, just at the mouth of the Nessa River. So that's their port into Nurdiv is Hamensend. So it's a big city there. So yep. That's that little there a little bit. Otherwise, it's the Ernsts here that dominates the eastern Nurdiv. So Nyrond is kind of at a disadvantage. They only here, but that is has the access to it. And the river, I take the river so wide here you can sail up and down and in and out of it. So yeah. But it's a strategic location because this is one of it's the biggest waterway when it comes to the water. This is the Amazon of Greyhawk here. It's the biggest
really?
river. Yeah, it's the river that carries the drainage from these two lakes, from Lake Quag, Wystill, and a bunch of other rivers here. So it's
That wasn't on my map, right?
yeah. So it's a huge.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's east of your map. Your map was roughly about this area here.
What? No.
Yeah.
We were down Greyhawk.
Oh yeah, Greyhawk is here in the middle.
Okay. That was my map. There
yeah,
we go.
yeah. So your map was this area. Hang on a second. I can extra zoom. So your map was like a little bit bigger than this, or yeah, somewhere between this.
Yeah, a little
this.
farther south. But
yeah. So somewhere like this. You had the Doom Grinder and stuff here in the east, and you had down here.
That
so,
just sounds like a stripper name. Why?
Doom
Who
Grinder.
named that?
Yeah, it's one of these.
The most famous
horrible.
stripper in Greyhawk.
Yeah, it's one of the most horrible places. So yeah, or modules that has got a lot of flack over the years. So yeah. Okay.
There's some bad stuff out there. That's true.
Yep.
But you know, if it's in mint condition in shrink, a collector will pay so much money.
Shrink is not a condition.
Oh my god. When Guppy bought that Hebrew module for it was $7,500, like mint condition.
Was that North Texas?
No, it was online. It was on
okay.
the RPG auctions group, and it was that Hebrew module. It was only published in Hebrew in Israel, and it had the monster that literally was called Gold Shitter.
Uh-oh.
And they phonetically spelled it in Hebrew, Gold Shitter.
Would that
literally
be kind of an insulting thing for people to say in Israel?
It was just it was a monster that actually shit gold.
Oh yeah, but meaning
and
yeah, is it?
It was just that module. I never read it.
Yeah.
But I've seen it. It was horrible.
Okay.
It was just a terrible work of it needs to be burned from the annals of history, and the person who wrote it needs to be executed. It's just
well,
that
it
bad.
has a lot of bad rap.
But
so it's one of
but it was but the staples aren't rusty, and it's in a different language, so it's worth a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Was it someone who actually knew Hebrew, or was it just translated?
No, Guppy can't read a word of Hebrew.
Yeah.
Nothing. He just collects stuff.
Okay.
And if it makes him happy and he's got the money, it's not like he spent rent money on it, I don't understand it, but more power to him.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious to me specifically because I can read it and know that it's garbage. It's just like,
well, and he's not getting it for its quality of writing. He's not going to read it. He's not going to play it. It's a collectible.
It's pure completionist sort of bragging rights. I have this thing and it completes my collection. That's all it is. It's a different mentality for sure.
Yeah.
But I cannot, because I know the language and I know how bad that thing is, I can't get over it of how ridiculous it is to pay that kind of money for it. I mean, Gold Shitter is no Duchy of Jeff. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, but I mean, then you could say that the things like the monographs from Chaosium aren't worth collecting.
Yeah.
I get that the Gold Shitter is probably worse, But sometimes quality isn't what it's about. It's about
Right,
almost notoriety. It's about
right.
collectability. You know,
It's
I have some pieces in my collection. Um, they probably aren't the best writing.
Yeah.
That's not what they're about. It's the fact that having this set of 10 in the world, yeah, you just don't. People just don't have this.
Yeah.
So it's worth thousands because of that, you know?
right.
We have a great question from Gribbly. That's a great question, and I'm just going to get this done here, and because there is a lot to say about the drainage from near div, so it's kind of cool. So I'm just going to make sure that we put that in there and outline it, and then we just do this. Yeah, because the near div has originally on the Darlene map and stuff has 2 outlets, which is naturally that only happens occasionally when a lake overflows. Over time, a lake will always sink down until there's only 1 outlet, and then that will be the level, so to speak. So it's the natural state of lakes is to only have 1 outlet, and near div has 2. And so it's definitely has enough outlets to take the stuff in. But so I've kind of tweaked it a little bit, to facilitate a little bit more realism, so to speak. But I haven't talked that much openly about it. But this is, hang on a second, let me use the easy zoom map here instead, because it's much faster to zoom and scroll around in. So here we have near div. So in on the if we go by the standard how it's described in the books and on the Darlene map, we have 2 outlets. We have the that seems to be the main one, the big ones, is the Nesse River here in the east that flows out here, and this one is depicted to be a really huge river, meaning maybe not the size of the Amazon, but definitely the size of the Mississippi, the Nile, or the Volga, or one of these really large rivers. So I would not have it as the biggest river on the planet, but maybe the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th biggest river. So it's in the Mississippi, Volga, kind of Nile range of rivers. It's not that long, but it has an enormous amount of water coming out of it. And then you have Silintan here, which is, if you read and look at the stories and stuff, here is a much smaller river that flows out here in the gap here and then into Woolly Bay. So both of these flows straight out into the ocean. But the Silintan is a much smaller or shorter river, and seems to be described as a much not anywhere near as wide or as massive. So what I thought about doing is to solve that dilemma and make it more realistic, saying that, okay, after the last ice age, when Nirdiv overflowed from all the ice and stuff, that's when this gap between the valley between the hills here actually carried, the Salintan was a river that carried water from Nirdiv all the way out to the ocean. And then when that overflow kind of diminished over time and Nirdiv got its current state, that valley dried up and became a valley. And then it settled down and to Nesse River here being the natural outlet. And that was probably the case for some thousands of years. And then all of a sudden, some powerful empire, meaning the Great Kingdom, came around and realized that, the Nesse River here is a long way to the ocean, and it all goes through the Nat Marsh here, which kind of is a problem for the to ship things from Nirdiv to the ocean means weeks or days or maybe a month or so of journey up and down this river. The river is gigantic, so you can kind of sail up and down it, but it's still 1,500 miles of meandering river. Even if it's a huge river, it's still 1,500 miles of river. What if we can revive this old river that flows through the valley here? That means that we have a 300-mile journey or 250 miles or something like that in much more controlled circumstances. and that meant that we have a shortcut to between Nurdiv and the ocean, and that we can dominate trade much better, so to speak. So what they did was that they dug up a canal from Nurdiv down here through this, because that when you get to roughly where the city of Greyhawk is, there is a river here that's called the Grey Run, and then you have another river flowing in. So they simply dug out the canal down to the Grey Run at city of Greyhawk, and then they built the city there from the tiny little Celinton that was there into to started building the city of Greyhawk and build it big. And that meant that Greyhawk is effectively a port city on Nurdiv, and a way where you can literally reload things from lake traffic to river traffic. And then the companion city is Hardby, where you actually take things from river traffic to ocean going vessels. So Greyhawk and Hardby make sense because they're like a twin city that handles, in the flow of goods, they handle the two reloading ports, so to speak, where you need to reload things. And that also means that what they have done is that you have on my version of it, I have a bridge here, or I've moved the stone bridge, and you have a bridge here. So this is actually like a basin that you have locks. It's only a few inches difference. So the locks are only there to make sure that you can go up and down without, like a canal. You don't have a large flow of water. So it's more like going across a lake. And then you have the sagging bridge here is then down. So this is kind of a lock where you go between the few inches or a few feet difference from sea level here to the level of Nurdiv. My thinking is that Hardby was probably bigger back in the day, but when the Great Kingdom came around, Greyhawk became a strategic location, both north and south, but also east and west. That's where the road from the Ernst to the west here, that's the shortest route. So Greyhawk makes perfect strategic sense to have a big city there, and a staging point, and one of the biggest, where you're both militarily, trade-wise, and communications. It's the spot where the empire needed to have one of its western bastions, so to speak, in order to control the goods flowing from Nurdiv to the ocean, and control this gap here between the gaps, the land south of the Nurdiv. It's Hardby and Greyhawk creates that kind of the strategic control of that area. And then the empire fell apart, and then they were powerful enough to eke out their own existence, so to speak. They were not subdued by any other empire. They became free cities. Yeah, but I think first of all, it's the length of the river here. It's 5 times longer, or 4 or 5 times longer than this. So that's one reason. And the other is that there are so much going through the marshlands here is probably not in a normal world that will be an extra hassle, but in a fantasy world, we know that there are sturges, and look at the encounter list, random encounter list for Nat Marsh, and you realize that there are some nasty stuff there. And then you have the going through the forest, which means that there's a lot of chance for people to hide out with bows and stuff and attack you and things. So it's definitely a lot of added trouble. It's much easier to defend this part of the river and make it safe than it is to secure this part. It's simply manpower and time-wise and stuff like that. So that makes sense that this is easier. And if you have part of it is man-made, that also means that you don't even have to fight the current, because there are no current. So that means that you can go up river as easy as you can go down river. So it's only from the city downwards that you have to fight the current. So yeah. Well, that's something you should ask von Moltke about, but in my opinion, not that much. Nairon seems to be a fairly open-minded regime when it comes to in Greyhawk, so to speak. So they could probably negotiate with that. But they have elven populations in 2 places. They have the Gamboge forest, and they have elven population, at least to some degree, I think, in the Celadon. They have two two major forests that I think has some elven. There's definitely elven presence up here, but I think there's also elven presence here in Celadon Forest. So, but I think from a diplomatic standpoint, they are probably a fairly lenient and inclusive and open-minded progressive regime, I guess we will call it, if we say a liberal regime when it comes, if we translate it into modern real world policy, which you shouldn't do, but in this case, I think it's kind of there, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you, Mike. Yep. Yep. So, okay, let me go back in here and do some more stuff and go down my list here. So I did the Edry line of keeps. I gave them the down here. I gave them the I labeled them properly. Yep. Oh yes, thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, we're not up for 2 hours, and this has really flown by. So that is awesome. I'm just going to save here, and I've done a fair bit on my list today, so that's good. I've done my work for that I set out to do today, so it's good. So thank you, Alyssa and Kfir, for joining me in this kind of mapping
My
endeavor.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's been awesome, and thank you everyone for coming in. I don't know exactly the numbers, but it's been great chatting with everybody. So we're going to keep it up and make it a tradition to work on Friday afternoons or evenings, depending on where you are, or middle of the night, I guess, if you're in Europe. So yeah. So, yeah. So any shout outs and stuff like that you want to do before we end this? Yeah.
I'll just tell anyone who was hoping I'd stream tonight, I am going to, but I have another important call after this. And when I'm done with that, I will probably stream some Thief too.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
join if you wish.
Yep. I'm going to post my links and stuff here just in case someone wants to check things out and stuff. So I'm going to post all the links and stuff there. So, yeah. Oh, thank you, Shattered Saint. Thank you. Welcome and so on. I hope you can stop by next week too. And so we'll try and make this a tradition, and then we will have the fantasy mapping show. And the next thing I will be on is Lord Gesumba channel on Sunday for Gabin, and we will talk about some classic deep dives into old Greyhawk modules and stuff. So I think it's Soykanth and the Thuriston Temple and stuff. So yeah. So that will be hopefully a fun discussion. It will be, because we have Carlos Lysing and Jay and stuff. They know more about the way more about the modules than I do. Yep. So that we're looking forward to that, and thank you everyone. And we are going to end the stream here. So thank you everyone.
Have a good night.
And in